everyone, and welcome to Time and Money Mastery. We are your co-hosts. I'm Indiana.
And I'm Sam. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of our episodes. Now, let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are joined by Kseniya of At the Money Minimalists. Say hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to share what I've learned in the past couple of years as a realtor and just answer any questions you have.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Like, I've been watching your journey for a while, since before I really got into things. And I just love it because I don't own a house yet, but it is one of my goals. So I think it's really, really cool to get your perspective on things and money. And tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, how old are you? What do you do? And like, how did you end up in this whole money sphere?
Yeah, so I'm 26 years old. So I actually studied engineering in college, and I was a civil engineer for a year outside of college. And then I didn't like it. So I started looking for something that was a little bit more like people related and a little bit more businessy, but I was too nervous to kind of like start a business from scratch. So I landed on real estate because that at least has like a model of like what to do, like what the actual business is. I don't have to like come up with a whole idea from like nothing. So it was kind of the route that I ended up going. So this is my fourth year in real estate. I'm in Florida. And I kind of just dove right in. I had a couple side hustles here and there. I have one now too. And then last year was when I started my money blog. And that was I've just always been very frugal, and I wanted to learn more about like investing and things like that. So I knew the best way for me to learn was if I was being held accountable by other people who were reading my stuff. So I knew I had to continue learning so I could continue sharing things. I also kind of came across a lot of clients who didn't have like a good grasp on their money situation, on budgeting. So I wanted to kind of start sharing tips with other potential buyers too. So the blog's been kind of a whole mix of real estate, money, investing, lifestyle, just like little tips here and there. Basically anything I want to write about finance, sort of loosely related, then I do it.
Oh my goodness. That's so great. I have so many things that I want to unpack from that. Oh my goodness. So firstly, you mentioned you had some side hustles and that you're frugal and you wanted to learn about investing. So tell me firstly, so real estate is your main job. And then what else do you do? What are your side hustles?
Yeah, so real estate is full time. I just last year, right when the pandemic hit here, I started doing a little like real estate editing. So I published my own ebook for passing the real estate exam in Florida last fall. So sorry, 2 falls ago. So 2019. And they kind of just found me online through that. They're like a publishing company. They're really small and they do real estate textbooks. So I just kind of help edit them. It's very lax. I honestly got really lucky, knock on wood, because it pays very well. I only have to work like 10-ish hours a week, sometimes 0, sometimes like 12. So it really fluctuates. So if I'm super busy one week, it's nice because I know I might have that week like off. And then some weeks I might be really busy, but I know it only lasts like a couple weeks. So that's my main side hustle. And then I'm also trying to eventually like monetize my blog. So I've been working on building traffic for that and going to start hopefully implementing some more like courses and ebooks and things like that over the future.
Yeah, awesome. And is that going to be sort of real estate focused or like more about your money journey?
So I've kind of been sharing both. I want to focus more on like money journey and stuff just because I'm trying to slowly ease into that world. And so we're probably going to be moving in a year or so. So real estate, I don't know how much longer it will be doing it. I don't know if I'll be doing it again in a different state. So I'm trying to focus more on something that I can sustain in the future and not have to like start from scratch. So right now I'm sharing a lot of both, and I'll probably continue to share a lot of both just because it's something that's heavily involved in my daily life. And a lot of people don't know a lot of the stuff that's become second nature to me. So I'll definitely continue sharing a lot of real estate. I also share just like some budgeting tips, some investing tips as I learn them, and things like that.
Awesome. I love that. So tell me a little bit about your Instagram name and your blog name. So Minimalists, like what does that
Mhm.
really mean to you? Where did that come from?
Yeah. So I've never been like one of those people who like tracks everything and who kind of just is like super, super focused on their strategy. So I've been more like intuitive and simple. So I brought in the name minimalist because it's kind of like a minimalist approach towards money. So I think that it doesn't have to be hard. Budgeting doesn't have to be hard. Investing doesn't have to be hard. So I kind of focus on like easy, simple, like straightforward processes to do things. So that was the main idea behind the blog, is just this simple person's guide to wealth, I guess.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. So I'm assuming you've read the book, The Simple Path to Wealth.
I actually haven't.
Oh my
That is on
goodness.
my. I know that is on my list, though. I really need to read
Yes.
it.
Yes.
That's
It would really, I think it would really resonate with you and like your minimalist approach. It's just very like no fluff, straightforward, straight to the point. It's a very good book.
yeah, I really need to read it. It's on my list. I've been this year. My goal is to like read a fun book and then like a money book, like every other month, and just
Yeah.
kind of switch it out.
Do you do audiobooks?
I have before, but with me, I go through like phases. I'll either like listen to a lot and then I don't want to listen to them at all. So
Yeah.
I like tangibly reading them. But I drive a lot for work, so sometimes I do audiobooks, but right now I'm in the phase of not doing audiobooks. So,
Yeah.
but I have I just recently got like that Libby app. I don't know if you guys have it there, but it's like a library audiobook, so you don't have to pay.
Ah. I don't know if we have that one. I'll have to have a look, but I think we have similar sort of things, like for like your local library. They have like an app sort of thing. But I definitely want to look into that because I spend a lot of money on Audible and buying
Yeah.
audiobooks. So
It's weird that you still have to like return it. So you still only have it for like a certain amount of time, even though it's an audiobook. So it's kind of weird. Like you'd think they would let you listen to it forever, but it's still like, I guess because they only have a few digital licenses or something like
yeah.
that. You still have to like return it. So that's the only thing, is sometimes I don't like being constricted like that. So but
Yeah, but I guess it's a good
it is,
low cost option.
yeah, it's free. So it's awesome. You just
Yeah.
have to be in a local library. So I don't know. Hopefully they have it there. I'm sure they have something similar, like you said.
Yeah, I'll have to do some digging. So I wanted to ask you about like this is the main thing I wanted to know about. Like on your
Mhm.
Instagram it says, from broke to buying your first home. Like tell us about that. How the hell did you do that? Like how broke is broke?
Yeah. So it wasn't like, it's confusing because my boyfriend always gets on me because I say I was like broke, but I had money in the 401k for my first job, but I couldn't really use it because you have all those penalties. So I had like a couple grand in there. But then like money that I actually had access to, I got down to like 1 month. I didn't have like anything in my checking account at all. So like actual money that I could easily access without penalties, I had like zero at one point. But then I did have like that. And then I guess safety net wise as a 401k. So it felt broke, but I did have some money in the 401k. But yeah, I really kind of went about real estate wrong because I should have gotten like a part-time job when I first started, but I just dove right in and it's all commission based. So I would go, it took me like 6 months to close my first deal. And then I thought like I was building momentum. And then it was like another 4 months and then another 4 months. So
Wow.
it, yeah, it was rough. I had to like really stretch out that commission for a really long time.
But how did you
And
get
then,
through that first 6 months where there was no income at all?
so the first I had saved from my engineering job, I had saved 10 grand. So first 6 months I had money, and then I kind of just was like really dwindling down. And then because we have a lot of fees too with starting real estate, and just like I was falling for all the little like things they were telling you to do. So I was buying all this stupid crap that I shouldn't have bought. So I blew through that pretty fast. And then after that, it just kind of got pretty rough. I mean, we like eat really cheap, and then so he was on the we were living together, so like that was nice to split bills that way, but it was very stressful for like the first year. It was pretty hard, and then something just kind of clicked. I started uh I started like doing open houses more in like younger neighborhoods, so I was able to convert like clients there better. So I kind of started doing a bit more deals there, and then it just kind of started building momentum. So it's just one of those, like, I think with a lot of businesses that you start, like the first year is always the hardest, and then you kind of reach like some weird peak that everyone always tells you about, but you feel like it's super far away, and then
Yeah.
you kind of start rolling.
You got to persevere through those like really tricky times. And they say right before you reach the golden fruit, it's really, really crap. And it's like really dark. It's like, the whole darkest before the dawn thing. Like when it's getting really tough and you think you can't take any more, like success is just on the other side.
Yeah, yeah. And we were like, yeah, it was definitely like not a fun time for either one of us. And he just like got out of the army, so he was really stressed as well, like money wise. So it was kind of not fun. But I'm glad I persevered through it, like you said, and because it definitely takes a lot of like vision. You kind of have to like blindly keep going. And it's weird because not a lot of people around you, I think. And I don't know if you felt this way too, but I feel like a lot of people around you are like, oh, what are you doing? Like just like stop
Yeah.
doing it.
Just give
But
up and get another job. Like give up
yeah,
on your dreams. It's like, well, if I do that, then I go back to square one. At least if I keep going, I put in the hard yards and I'm closer than when I started.
exactly. But I guess to people it's like, oh, like at what point is it like too late, you know? But
Yeah.
I I saw like I was lucky because I was able to surround myself with some people who had found success in like real estate here, and so I knew it was possible. It just took some time and some momentum, and now I've been lucky that it kind of grew, and it got stable, and now it's pretty good. I mean, obviously, I still never know like what it'll be like a few months from now, but hopefully
Yeah.
it'll keep
That's
going. So
that's like any business. Like it's never guaranteed. You've always got to keep pushing and keep hoping that it's coming in. So when you
yeah.
were going through those times, you said that were really, really tough. Like tell me some of the things that you did to like keep costs low and like, I don't know, like some frugal meals. Like how did you get by through that period?
Yeah, yeah. So we were it's funny because like some of the stuff I saved money was probably like really stupid and not even really worth it. I remember at first, like when we first moved in together, we like didn't even buy a trash can. We used like an old box, which I was like,
Hey,
it
it
probably was,
works.
yeah, like we just put a bag into it, which thinking back, it's like, I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like I wasn't really focused on the important stuff. I should have gotten a side job instead of focused on using a box. Like I should have gotten a part-time job, but everybody was like, "Oh, you can't do like real estate part-time. You have to do it full-time." So I was kind of like, "Oh, I need to spend all this time doing all this stuff." So I was saving money like doing stupid things like that. We would yeah, like just really really cheap meals. I mean, I eat really cheap anyways, like eggs for lunch, like oatmeal for breakfast. I mean, I still kind of do that, but yeah, And then just kind of not really spending a lot of stuff on like fun things. Like we weren't really doing anything like that. Like we weren't really eating out. Just kind of saving everything that we could and kind of doing our best not to splurge on anything. So, but
Did
yeah,
you
that was the main thing, is just kind of the only thing we could spend money on in my eyes was like food and bills and like gas and stuff. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
did your partner have an income at all during that time, or were you both like,
Yeah, so he does. So here he gets the GI Bill, so it's like a monthly stipend from the army, or
okay.
from the government, because he was in the army. So for going to school, he gets his school covered and like a small monthly stipend. So yeah, he did have an income. It's nothing like crazy, but it's enough to cover like his portion of the bills.
Yeah. And so for you, it was pretty much just scrimp and save and basically live off the savings. So I imagine that must have been really stressful when you're getting to sort of the end of the savings and the real estate still wasn't really picking up. Like, how did you maintain like the faith in yourself that it was going to work?
I don't know. I just kind of, I honestly don't know how I did it. I just kind of have like, I just knew it would happen. I think I'm like one of those people where like, I think anything is possible if you're just consistent and patient enough. So
Yeah,
I
so
think you
true.
can, yeah, like I think you can achieve anything as long as there's enough time and you're putting in consistent effort and work. So I knew I was doing the effort and the work, and it was just a matter of time before it kind of started changing. So the hardest part was just getting other people to see that too. Because obviously to them it's like, if you're not that kind of like personality, you don't really understand that it is like that, you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just didn't see anything crazy different from like the other people around me that were successful. So I was like, well, if they could do it, like I should be able to do it too. Like maybe it'll take me a little bit more time, but eventually I'll get there. So
And once
that's
you
kind
do start selling houses, like what do those commissions look like? Are they sizable? Like, is it enough to live
of
by? Like,
so it broke up after you said, is it enough to live by?
yeah, is it enough to live off? Like, do you still need to get another job, or is it like no, like finally, like I've been rewarded?
Yeah, no, they're really good sized commissions. So here, average commission, it used to be a little higher. Now it's like 2.5% of the purchase price. So a lot of the homes are like, a lot of the ones I sell are like 250,000. So you're looking at like 4 or 5 grand ish, around that per house.
4 to 5 grand per house. I guess that's good if you've got like a good flow, but like I
Mhm.
guess if it's like a dry spell, like 6 or 4 months in between, that must be a bit intense, hey?
Yeah, so that was kind of the rough. At first, it was like, it's good. So a lot of people get caught up in that issue. A lot of realtors do is they have like a really good month and then they don't know that they have to save it. And that's kind of how I was able to save so much money really quickly, was because I was always in that mindset up until, I'm really like working on it this year, but I was always in the mindset like I can only spend on like my necessities, because I might not like, sell a house in like 2 months or in 3 months or something like that. So last
Yeah.
year, obviously, it was kind of for a couple months there. I didn't sell anything because the pandemic hit and everybody didn't know what was going to happen. Like people kind of slowed down, so I couldn't really do very much work then. So I was really happy that I had the savings and stuff. So I continued to save and live kind of minimally, but I'm really working on not having like money guilt and being able to actually spend money on what I want to spend on. So that's kind of my big goal for this year, is to be a little bit more relaxed around it.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's another thing is like, when you do start getting money in, you don't want to fall into lifestyle creep where you're like, oh, all of a sudden, like I have all this money, like I can spend it on whatever I want. And then you're actually in a worse off position than when you were before because now you have all this money, but you're not keeping any of it. So, kind of at the moment, what would be your split? Like, how do you, like, what percentage is savings? Do you invest? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so mine, I don't do it like monthly. I do it kind of in the back of my head. I keep it that I want to do it for the end of the year. But investing wise, I just do it at the end of the year because I don't know what the rest of my year is going to look like. And maybe like in the future, once I can steadily predict what I will make. But like COVID really was a weird thing. So like who knows if something like that will happen again? Like who knows if the market will crash? So for me, I like to save it till the end of the year. And so I kind of just last year I had in the back of my mind that I wanted to max out my like retirement accounts. And so I just kind of mentally like saved for that. And then I know how much I spend every month on like food and bills and stuff like that. And then everything else, like here and there, I'll let myself like splurge. So I don't have like a full percentage. I just know like, oh, at the end of the year, I need to save like X amount for 401k, X amount for Roth IRA, and X amount for taxes. So,
Yeah. So for our Aussies, the 401k is like our version of superannuation. So it's like your retirement fund that you put away
yeah.
for later. So
Mm-hmm.
I can really see like where your name comes in, like the money minimalist approach. It's like it's a lot more like, oh yeah, kind of like put away this much and that kind of thing. Like it's a lot more free spirited, which is awesome. Like whatever works for you. I'm a lot more like type A personality where like I need to know exactly what's going where. And I think that's the great thing about money is like there's no one way of doing it. It's literally just working out what works best for you and,
Mm-hmm.
working that out along the way. Now, another thing that I was hearing from you was, that money guilt that's coming in. So, where do you think that comes from? Is that from, like, were you raised to think that their like money would run out, or is it purely from your experience of like not having money when you were building up your career?
Um, yeah, so probably a little bit of both. So my parents, I mean, we're immigrants, so I'm an immigrant too. We moved to America from Russia. So,
Awesome.
just growing up, like it was kind of also hard. Like my parents both worked a lot of jobs and they didn't want to spend anything like frivolously. So for them, anything that wasn't a necessity, like was marked frivolous. So
Yeah.
um, a lot of the times I kind of like try to fight that. I'm like, oh, well, like this isn't something that's like frivolous because it actually like brings me joy or whatever. So I'm really working on changing that mindset that frivolous like that you don't have to spend money only on things that are like necessities. You can spend money on things that you actually enjoy. So for me it was never really a big issue to spend money on like traveling, so I never feel bad about like the actual flight or whatever. But like if I'm traveling, I was very frivolous about the food I bought. So now I'm trying to like be more okay with buying food that is like I would buy like some like of the local food, but I would also kind of cook a lot of food or like buy little like sandwiches from the grocery store and stuff like that. So like little things like that, I do sort of stem from my family, just kind of always keeping like the family first, knowing that it was always like a little bit unstable job wise for them being immigrants. So they always had to keep that in the back of their mind that they have to spend money very wisely. And we had to fly back as a family to Russia a lot. So that was really expensive. So they always had to kind of budget for that. So that's definitely kind of where it originally stems from. So
Yeah. The reason I ask that is because I 100% believe that our money beliefs come from our childhood and like what, not even necessarily what we were told, but like what we saw and, how our parents or our family acted around money. And it's good that you are at least aware of that and like that's where it comes from. But it's kind of like now you have the choice to choose how you see money and if you want to still see it like that. So you've got a choice now. Like, do I want to be just, only living off basic necessities and always feeling bad if I want to spend money? Or do I want to make the choice that, hey, I work hard for my money and, I've earned it and I'm going to treat myself. So I think that's really, really cool. And you should definitely like keep working on that and, journal through it and meditate and do affirmations and things like that. Do you do any of that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I journal. I journal quite a lot. I have like a morning journal and an evening journal. Um, I've done affirmations and like manifestation stuff before. Um, I go through phases of that too. Sometimes I do it a lot. Sometimes I do. I haven't done it in a while, but I definitely believe in that power. I also read something recently that it was a science study that it's really important to visualize not just like the end of your, and I don't know if you know this, but not the end of the journey, like not visualize just like you having that like dream house or whatever, but it's also really important to visualize the journey as well, because otherwise your mind starts like believing that you've already reached that point and it doesn't visualize the actual work that goes into it. So I thought that was
Mm,
like super. So I've
yeah.
started like kind of journaling, visualizing like this is what my day would look like if I am working towards this goal. And so like every once in a while I'll write down like what my dream day looks like working towards that goal, or what my dream day looks like when I'm actually at that goal and stuff like that. So I kind of do a little bit of both types of visualization. So I do really see the value in it, though. I think that if you can't visualize yourself achieving it, like it's much harder to get there.
Yeah, 100%. I need to read that article because it's like that's something I already believe, but I never really, I guess, knew why. But it's true. Like you need to like go through the motions. And even if that's not your reality day to day yet, like how do you expect to get there? You need to give your brain something to work on. So, your brain responds to the messages you give it. And if you tell it like, oh, like my life sucks and I never have enough money, like that's exactly what it focuses on. And it brings you bills and it brings you things that will bring those thoughts to reality. So if you're focusing instead on this is my dream day, I wake up at this time, I do that, then I do this, like that's what your brain's going to go, okay, this is what we need to work on. And this is what we need to start producing into reality. So it's awesome. And I think like definitely set an end goal, but then, have your milestones and work back from them so that your brain
Mhm.
can start having something to work on. Definitely. So, do you have any sort of tips for, buying your first house? What are you looking for? Like, do you need to wait for like a market high or a market drop? Like, or is it just invest when you're ready? Like,
Yeah, so I don't know what the market is over there right now, but here it's like super super crazy. So
yeah,
it's
here
really
too.
really, yeah. So it's really hard here for buyers right now. Our inventory is really low, but it's really hard too because our mortgage rates are really low. So you kind of have to just play around with what you think is more important. Because yeah, the prices might come down in the future, but you can't ever predict how much they might come down, because they might only come down 10 grand and then you kind of wasted all those years on rent, paying that rent when you could have been paying your mortgage. So for me, I personally think if you're in a market where cost of living isn't like super high, where the rents are higher than a house you could afford, then I would advise looking into buying a house. Because obviously, if you're in like a really high cost of living, like New York City or like LA or something like that, then it's really hard to afford a house. You can live much cheaper renting. So, but here in like Tampa, where I'm at, it's a lot more affordable to buy a house and rent. So it's very very like personal and just kind of like all finance things are, is you really have to see where you're living, like how long you're going to be living there, how much your rent is. If you're living in like a super fancy penthouse and renting that, then maybe you can't buy a penthouse for the same amount. So you really have to kind of gauge like what you want to do with whether you want to start kind of saving money and not really throwing it out on rent, I guess, for what people say. But it really totally depends on your market and your lifestyle. But I chose to buy just because I want to turn this into a rental in the future. So I bought it. Like I mentioned before, we're probably going to move in a year. So we'll rent it out when we move. And then after the renters, I'll end up flipping it and like renovating it and then selling it. So I kind of want to do that. Just buy, live in, rent out, and then on the side also buy some rental properties. So that's a big portion of my future kind of investing, as I want to do real estate investing as well as just regular like retirement and brokerage investing. But yeah, I think the biggest thing too, to answer your question, I know I got off on a tangent, is to kind of, I don't know what the hidden costs are there, but here it's, you have a down payment, you also have closing costs, and then some other fees associated, like inspections, appraisals, survey, things like that. So a lot of people don't know what those costs are, and then they're really shocked to find out they're thousands higher than they thought. So just definitely do some research or talk to like a local realtor. I'm always happy to talk to people. I don't know how helpful I'll be for Australia tips, but I'm always happy to share the costs that are associated with it here, just so people know what to expect. But it can cost here, I guess I can say what it is here, but it's usually around 3.5% or 3% to 5% down payment. And then a
Really?
3%.
Only
Yeah.
3 to 5%.
Yeah. So it's a lot lower here. You can do 20. But a lot of my clients do 3 to 5%.
Wow,
And
that's so low.
is it 20 there?
It's minimum 10,
Okay.
but preferable 20.
Yeah, yeah, you can do 3 to 5. So
Mm.
I did 3.5. So yeah, so it's a lot cheaper here, I guess. And then closing costs are 3%. So that's just like fees. And then all the inspections and stuff usually adds up around to $1,500.
Okay. That's
So,
like, it's good to know those. Well, you need to know those things because otherwise, especially if you're going, oh, I just need to save for my 3 to 5%, or here, like my 10% as a minimum. If you just have like bang on the 10%, you're going to be in a bit of trouble when all those extra fees kick in. So I think it's definitely important to do your research and ask around and make sure you have extra. You want to make sure you have an extra, I'd say here like 5% or more for all those extra fees and things. Plus, you want to have your emergency fund, right? Because while you're trying to buy a house, life goes on and other things still pop up. So, in terms of
mhm.
emergency funds, like what does yours look like? Is that a focus for you?
Yeah, so mine is it's not really like per month. Mine is like 20 grand. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just I just honestly kind of like how that
Keeping
number
around
sounds.
that amount.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something that I could definitely live off of for the next year, probably, if I really had to. Um, Obviously, like I would probably get a part-time job if I needed to, but everything else I've kind of put into like investments or retirement. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it really just depends if you're like a freelancer or somebody with a stable salary. So stable salary, I'd recommend 3 to 6 months. For me, it's higher because I don't have a stable salary. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
And honestly, like what is stable these days? Like, we could have another pandemic or something.
yeah, mine
Nothing.
is like a little less than a year. I guess technically I could have. I mean, I have some in my checking, which I guess technically is my emergency fund because it's not in anything else. So yeah, mine's probably about a year if
Yeah.
you add in.
I think at the moment, like I don't really have like a set amount because I'm saving for a house. So I also don't know when that will be, if that will be in the next 6 months or 12 months. So it's kind of like the whole amount is my emergency fund until it
Yep.
goes into a house. So I don't know. But either way, the point is have an emergency fund. It's very important. That's
It,
for sure.
it
Uh,
definitely.
what do you I'm really interested, like, do you believe in credit cards? Like how do you feel about that?
Yes, yeah. So I have a credit card that I really like. I actually just booked a flight to Turks and Caicos for free on it. So
Amazing.
so yeah, so I love my credit card. I pay it off every month. I love the points. I've gone to England for free on it, to Maine. I got a cruise to Mexico for free on it. So it's something that I think if you are disciplined enough and you pay it off every month, it can be a huge asset. But if you're somebody who sees it as like free money, then it's might not you might not be quite ready for it yet. But I do really think that the points are crazy. Like that's the flight would have been like $600. Like so that's super awesome because it was stuff I was buying anyways, like groceries and things like that. Like I wish I could put my mortgage on it because I would have so many more points.
Yes,
But
that would be fun. How do
yeah.
you like how does that work? Is it like just like what you spend every month you get certain points and then what you can cash that in after a year or something?
You can cash it in whatever. So my credit card is nice because it partners with I don't know if it's every flight, but it's the majority of like the major flights or airlines. I don't know if it does like the little airlines, but it I picked this one because a lot of other ones are like just Delta airline or like just this airline or whatever. So I picked this one because it's only $95 a year annual fee, and then you get like $600 worth of flights. But I forget what it is, but it's like you get double points if you spend on travel and dining, and then it's like 1.5 points if you spend on like gas or something. I forget what the actual numbers are, but
What brand of card
that
is that?
Chase,
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's
I've
yeah,
heard it.
Chase.
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
I think
heard
it's
some
Chase.
good things about that one and like people like points hacking and like I think that one or maybe a different one is like everyone buys like a Peloton. Is that like
Yep, that's
is that
mhm.
one? Yeah. I think here we would just call that like an exercise bike.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
the brand,
Ah, okay.
specific brand, Peloton. Yeah. So they just got that as one of their perks. So yeah, that's the other perks. You can use it for that. You can do it. Like mine can also do like car rentals, hotels. I never use it for those. I just use it for the flights, but it rolls over too. So you have to be careful because some don't roll over the points.
Okay, so
So
you have to
my
use them by a certain date.
yeah, and you can do it as cash back. It's just worth more money in a flight, um, if that makes sense. But yeah, if you take cash back, it would have been worth like I don't know, $500 instead of 600 or something like that.
That's
But
still decent. Like if you weren't planning on flying anywhere, like that's pretty good cash back. I'd have to look into it because I've honestly never had a credit card. Like I was
right.
raised as you don't get a credit card ever. Like
Mhm.
unless you're absolutely desperately destitute. Like that's just how I was raised and I was always raised to like be scared of them. But like being part of the finance community, I'm hearing a lot more about them. I just don't know if they're as good here though, because I don't think we have like cash back and things like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it seems like you guys have much better offers and like you get like heaps of bonuses and like extra like cashback offers and all these things. But it's something I want to look into because I'm very good at like paying things off on time. So if I could find a way to like points hack it, maybe it would be worth it. But I'm just so
Yeah,
scared of like overdraft and fees and having a big debt.
yeah. We do love our debt here. That's probably why we have better ones.
Yeah,
But
I'm very anti debt, but it's not always a bad thing, like buying a house or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you just set like a reminder every month, like the same time you pay your rent or whatever, just pay your credit card bill, then it becomes just like an added bill. But it is easy to kind of um swipe it if you're not paying attention, I guess, and not really knowing how much it costs, or how much you spend. But I've just kind of, one of the reasons I also like it too is it's, I think it's, I don't know how true this is, but I think it's also just a little bit safer to use with like online shopping because they can't access your like checking account or whatever.
Yeah,
um
that's true. So, because with a credit card, you can't like, and especially like if you took it to an ATM, you can't get cash out, can you, with a credit card?
you can, but they
Oh,
charge you.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay, yeah. So that might be a perk as well. I'll definitely have to look into it. But I know just with all like the American people that I follow, they're all like Peloton, like getting their Pelotons, and I'm like, what is this thing?
I That's it. They're expensive. They're like 2 grand or something. They're very expensive.
Yeah, and just like I don't know, I think I'd rather just go to the gym and do it.
Yeah, I was never, I mean, I've done some like exercise spin classes, but I can't stay focused on a bike. I get
Yeah,
bored.
yeah, it's too much cardio for me. I'd rather lift weights. So thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to ask you sort of like one last thing, and what's something that you wish you could have told yourself 5 years ago about money?
Um, I've just been very like, I think when I found Ramit Sethi, and I think I've recommended his book to you too. But when I found his page, he kind of just really like resonated with me. And the main takeaway from him I got, which I'm really like, it's kind of really helping me readjust my life. And that's what I would have told myself a few years ago is not to he always says like don't focus on like the $3 questions, like focus on like the $30,000 questions or whatever. So his main thing is to focus on like earning more and your potential instead of like things like me where I was trying to use a trash box. So like focus on the things that will actually like have a huge impact instead of saving and like being super frugal and saving like $1 here and there. So that's probably what I would tell myself back then is just kind of don't be so hard on yourself when you spend money and find ways to earn more instead of finding ways to like save more. And that's I think what can really change somebody's life is get more income streams, get more side hustles. There's only like so much you can save, and there's insane opportunities to earn as much as you want, really.
Absolutely. Like, I think in the finance community, like, people often focus too much on like hacks and saves and where you can cut back and get free things. And that's awesome. Like, we definitely want to be, not overspending and making the most of what's available to us. But we so need to focus on just bringing in more money because, like, the options are endless. And people these days, they don't need to be location dependent. Like, we're on Zoom right now and you're in Florida and I'm in Brisbane, Australia. Like we're in two different countries. There is no reason why we can't be having, multiple income streams and finding ways to increase our income rather than, cutting back on the daily coffee that, if that brings you joy, 100% keep it. Like it should, money is a tool and it should be something that enhances your life, not makes you feel like you're crippling guilt every time you spend with it. So I think that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know it's your evening over there and it's my morning, and thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to know a little bit more about you and what you do?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so I have a blog. It's themoneyminimalists.com, and also my Instagram is also the money minimalists. So I would definitely feel free to DM or email or whatever. I'm happy to answer any questions and chat with people. I love hearing other people's perspective on money. Like you said, there's everybody has such a different idea. Like you said, you're more like type A, and I'm kind of a
Yeah.
little bit of a fear about my it works for both of us. So you just
Exactly.
kind of, there's no right way or wrong way. You just have to find what works for you, and not be bogged down about following somebody's regimented rules.
Yeah, like no one person has all the answers. Find what works for
Mhm.
you. Don't let someone, make you feel guilty for doing things differently. Like just 100% find a flow and something that works for you and run with that. Thank you so much for
Uh,
joining us today.
Thank you so much.
So that's a wrap. If you loved today's episode, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and let us know why you loved it.
And if you know someone who needs to hear this, then send it their way and share it to your stories, tagging us at Time Money Mastery.
Feel like you're wanting just a little more? Jump on over to our Facebook community. You can find the link in the show notes.
That's all from us today, fam. We'll see you soon.